Once upon a time in Shillong, there were two kids and they were home alone. Their parents were not at home, and one of the child said that he is feeling feverish. And in that case, his sister tried to place her hand on his forehead and get an idea whether he has fever or not. But to know that, they must know that what is the temperature of a healthy human being. How do they calculate it? And if the average calculation is possible to do with, say, for example, a measuring unit, then is the same instrument also will be able to measure boiling water and ice cold water? To get the answers of these questions, let us move ahead and start discussing Curiosity, which is the class 6th science textbooks. We have already discussed from chapter number 1 to chapter number 6 for this textbook. Today we are going to discuss chapter number 7. We are just getting started, but before that I will like to let you know that we will discuss class 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th as well. So please consider subscribing to the channel so that you do not miss the classes. So let us begin with temperature and its measurement. If we feel that some object is hot or some object is cold based on our senses, say for example, we touch a hot vessel, then we can only say that it is hot. But we do not know how hot it is or how cold is something which is very cold. That is known as a comparative reading. But if we make it more, say, objective, then we have to quote some temperature along with it, that it is this hot, and that will make it more objective and not just based on our senses. So that is the measure of heat which we are going to study in this particular class. If we feel feverish at times, then we can place our hand on the head, but that doesn't make much difference because the whole body is at the same temperature. However, if we drink a warm cup of tea or some cold drinks, then we can potentially identify that whether that is comparatively, relatively hot or cold. So moving ahead, this experiment can actually be done in a very simple method. In one bowl, we have ice cold water, and in another bowl, we have comparatively warm water. And in the center bowl, what we have is simple normal tap water at room temperature. Now what we do, we place our one hand on the warm water and another hand on the cold water. So now, say for example, our right hand is on the warm water and our left hand is on the cold water. Now, after keeping it there for 2 minutes, when we place both our hand on the, say, tap water, then you will identify that the hand which was previously in warm water, the water from the tap also feels cold, and the hand which was in the cold water, ice cold water, for that hand it will feel warm. So it is relative. If previously it was at a higher temperature, now this lower temperature will also feel like, okay, there is a difference. And for both of the hands, we can do this experiment very nicely and clearly. What is this? This is nothing but our perspective. And this perspective is relative because, of course, the temperature of the tap water is same. But the sensation, the feeling, the perspective that both the hands get, that is different. And that is why science requires certainty. We need to know what is the exact temperature of the tap water, because at different conditions, for different persons or for different hands also in this case, we see that the temperature changes. So we need to know what is the temperature, right? So for that, we have something which is reliable and it is known as a thermometer. So what is a thermometer? Thermometer is the device which is able to measure the temperature correctly. It is objective. It will give a number, a figure on which we can trust. It is the reliable measure of hotness and coldness, and not just a sensation, okay, this is hot and this is cold. Now, there is an Indian, say, woman who has done a lot of things in this field, and she says that wrong measurements are worse than no measurements at all. We will see about this famous personality in the coming slides. Now, there are three scales to map the wall's heat, which we generally use. Number one, we must have heard about degrees Celsius. This is the global standard for science and used on a day-to-day basis. And this is also the unit which is the degrees Celsius unit. However, historically, we were using the degree Fahrenheit. However, at present, it is not used as much as it was used previously. Now we also have Kelvin, but did you notice that we do not use the degree or this dot which we place here? This is the short of degree. We do not use it. Do not use the degree sign in case of Kelvin. So the absolute scale used in scientific work, which is also the SI unit of temperature, is Kelvin. So is it degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, or Kelvin? The answer is it is Kelvin, and the degree sign is not used. Now there are some key reference points. What is it? The normal body temperature. The normal body temperature of a healthy human is 37 degrees Celsius, which is 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. But is it one simple mark point, or can it fluctuate human to human? Let us see. Measuring the temperature of the human body is done by the thermometer. In our home also we have thermometers. Previously, if we look at the old thermometers which we have, in that case we will see a glass thermometer and inside there is mercury. We have to be very careful while holding these thermometers, because if it will fall down, it will break, and the mercury inside is toxic and dangerous. I remember my mother used to say when I was a child that if you touch this, if it gets broken, and if that broken liquid comes in contact to the eyes of a person, then that person can get blind. Now, this thermometer is specifically designed for measuring human body temperature. If we visit the doctor, then also the doctor will use a temperature measuring, say, instrument for measuring the temperature. The range of this is 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius, because that is the range of temperature in normal, say, healthy human beings. But what about the fluctuations in this temperature? Is it possible? Yes. If I talk about my own body temperature, it is always below 37 degrees Celsius. So that is why the range is kept in this 35 to 42 degrees Celsius. Look at this digital thermometer. There is a reading which clearly indicates the number which we need to simply read. But the old mercury thermometers, if you have them in your home, the mercury used to raise, and we have to see it that in which mark it has reached, and based on that we know what is the fever. But now no need to do all these things, you can simply read it. And also they use heat sensors. They're very easy to read and they pose no risk of the mercury toxicity. They can be used for personal body temperature. The range is from 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius, and they are safe. Why? Because mercury is not used. During the times of COVID, most commonly used thermometers, especially by the doctors in the gates of airports, malls, hospitals, we used to see that there were no contact thermometers. These no contact thermometers are known as infrared thermometers. They will measure the temperature of the human from a specific distance, and the contact need not happen. Measure temperature from a distance, reducing the spread of diseases as seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. In this case, they use a mass screening and no contact temperature can be noted. The body temperature range is here as well. And this is also very highly safe, even better than the previous one, because we need to follow certain steps to use the previous one. But here, since there is no contact, there is no issue of hygiene as well. Let us come to precision in practice. Reading body temperature correctly. How do we use the temperature which comes to, say, we measure temperature for different persons and it comes in contact with different persons. So how do we correctly use it? For this, we need to wash the tip of the thermometer with soap and water before and after the use. And we can place the thermometer under the tongue. In case of mercury thermometers, however, as far as I remember, it was used in the underarm region so that it is, say, not in direct contact with the mouth. Wait for beeping or there will be some light which will flash. The normal one which we use, it beeps and then we can take out the thermometer and we can see the reading. This thermometer can also be placed and in a manner that it is under the arms, and that can also be done. And after the reading is taken from the display, it can be removed. But how about if the temperature is little bit above 37, or if it is little bit above below 37, which is say 36 point something, that is 6.7 or 8. So does this mean anything serious? The answer is no. Though the normal body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius, which is 98.6 degree Fahrenheit in average, but it can vary slightly from different person to different person. Even with age also it will influence, and if we check it at different time of the day, in that case also it will show a different reading. I'll give you a very simple example. We drink warm water in the mornings, right? Why do we do that? Because the body is at similar temperature, or the body will better respond to, will feel comfortable if we are drinking warm water in the morning, because the temperature of the body is also, it is relaxed, right? Now, if we look into measuring the world, how do we do that? Is it possible to just measure from 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius and be able to measure anything in this world? No. So for that, we have laboratory thermometer. If we look into a laboratory thermometer, then the laboratory thermometer is used for measuring ice cold water or ice as well. From there, it goes up to boiling water. It can also measure boiling water. So the range is very high in case of a laboratory thermometer. The liquid which is inside is typically alcohol and it is colored red for visibility, or it can be mercury as well. Look at clinical thermometer. It is generally used to measure the human body temperature. The range is again from 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius, and it is specifically designed for personal use. So do not try to dip it inside hot tea or coffee to get an artificial fever. And laboratory thermometer is used for scientific experiments, and the range is from -10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. It is used for general purpose and for scientific purpose, and it is very long, much longer than this one comparatively, and it has higher markings, right? So this will be longer than the normal body temperature thermometers. All right, it looks something like this. Now, if we want to have the accurate readings in case of a lab thermometer or any thermometer for that matter, then we need to make sure that from the point that we are reading, the point where the reference line will be there with respect to the temperature, with respect to the mercury reading or anything, it has to be in a straight line. Let us look at this example. If we are using a lab thermometer, In this case, the thermometer is placed straight. It is upright. It should not be tilted, else it will give the refractive effects like the parallax error. Now we have to immerse the bulb fully. This is the bulb and it has to be immersed fully, and also the substance must not touch the bottom or side of the container, because in that case, again, what is the temperature below this surface or the below the contact range of this tub may also matter. For that, some stand may be required in which we can attach the thermometer like this. Next, we have to read while it is immersed, and the reading, because it will change instantly upon removal, as the mercury or whatever is being used will come down as soon as it is removed. And then we have to maintain the eye level. It has to be, as you can see here, it has to be at the direct level of the line where the liquid is there. Otherwise, what will happen? There can be different refractive errors. So that is how we take the readings. Now let us come to how do we measure the air temperature and what help does it do to us. We can have different room thermometers as well. This will help us identify what is the temperature inside our room in the immediate environment, and the temperature measurement will help us to identify that. Then there is the air temperature, which we see in weather report that today the minimum temperature will be XYZ and the maximum temperature will be XYZ. So what is that? That is a weather report, and this provides the maximum and the minimum air temperature for the day. This is used by meteorologists along with various other factors, and that is used to make weather forecasts. Now let us look into the personality, the weather woman of India. Who is the weather woman of India? Anna Mani. Anna Mani is the weather woman of India from 1918 to 2001, an Indian scientist who personifies the importance of precise measurement. Look at the statement. Look at what she has given. Wrong measurements are worse than no measurements at all. She also invented many instruments, and because of her, India's reliance on other nations for scientific tools also decreased. She has also worked for exploring the potential of wind and solar energy in India from 1918 to 2001, the birth and the death year. Now, what is absolute zero? If we look into the highest temperature, then what can we imagine? In our imagination, we can think about the sun's core, which is 15 million degrees Celsius. But maybe we are not able to locate something more than that or imagine something more than that as of now. But again, if there is something, then that is also relative. So there is no highest, say, for that matter. The upper limit is not known. But let us look into what we have here, the absolute zero, the lowest possible temperature. So though we do not have the upper limit, that is not known, but we do have a lower limit, and the lowest possible temperature is 0 Kelvin or minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. Now, if we look into the boiling water, that is 100 degrees Celsius, human body is 37 degrees Celsius. We know that ice cold water or ice is your 0 degrees Celsius. And the coldest earth temperature is minus 89.2 degrees Celsius. And again, though the upper limit is not known, but the lowest possible temperature is your 0 Kelvin. That is the point where all atomic motion ceases. Now, our journey, which started with the story of Shillong and we studied about how subjective can senses be. When somebody is feeling hot, somebody can feel cold at the same time. But if we have a tool for measurement, say a thermometer, that will give us an objective reading. How do we do that? We use the language of the temperature, that is degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, or Kelvin. No need to use degree in case of Kelvin. And the technique to measure with accuracy also we have seen. Continuing our journey, I'm going to leave you with a few questions that how is the body temperature of animals like dogs, cats, or camels measured? What are the surface temperatures of the other planets in our solar system? We do study that when we are studying geography, right? What are the hottest and coldest places in India and what are their record temperature? I'll tell you about Dras, you tell me about the hottest places. And from feeling to fact, we have seen that the journey continued from sensation, which was very subjective, to temperature reading in degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, or Kelvin, which is your objective. Now, let us quickly go through the summary. The temperature of body tells how hot or cold it is, but it is just based on sensation unless and until we take a thermometer and measure it, and we have to know for that a healthy human adult will have the temperature range of 37 degrees Celsius, which is 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. We can use Celsius, Fahrenheit, which are again denoted as degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, and the Kelvin scale. And these unit of temperatures are denoted as degree Celsius, degree Fahrenheit, and Kelvin. We have seen the SI unit is Kelvin. The clinical thermometer is used to measure the body temperature, and for lab thermometer, the range is from -10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. All these things we have studied. We also studied about absolute zero, which is 0 Kelvin, at which all the atomic motion will cease. Now, I hope we can give the answers to these questions, which are very simple now. The normal temperature of a healthy human being is close to 37 degrees Celsius. 37 degrees Celsius is the same temperature as, repeatedly we have said, 37 degrees Celsius, that is 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. The range of laboratory thermometer is usually, we have seen, it is -10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. So in this particular lesson, we have studied chapter number 7, which is temperature and its measurement. In the next chapter, we will study chapter 8, which is a journey through states of water. So I'll see you in the next session. You may give a thumbs up and hit the like button if you like the class, and you can refer to the playlist for going through this entire course of NCERT. Thank you everyone. Take care. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.